All right, welcome into Buffalo Plus, presented by Connors and Ferris, the podcast. Mike Catalana, Dan Fates, still with a veteran day off. I am Jenna Cottrell. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. You know how much we appreciate it. All right, Mike, let's break down this Bills-Lions matchup, the injury report, but let's also start with the news of the day as the weather massively impactful, and the Bills had to cancel practice because of all that snow.
Crazy, right? Everybody talks about Buffalo and building a dome. Which, hey, we were in a semi-dome last week. Jenna and I are going to be in a dome in Detroit this week. Domes are pretty nice, like when you're inside in the cold weather. Yeah. This wasn't about, they have an indoor facility in Orchard Park. They couldn't get there. And you're talking about 2 to 3 feet of snow. And
I don't know how people do it.
The wild thing about there is, now we're in Rochester, not that far away, not a few inches of snow. Mm-hmm. North of the city of Buffalo, some places had no snow or a couple of inches. But around the stadium, it's wild there.
Yeah, it certainly is. So we want to remind everyone, drop any questions you have in the chat. Let us know where you're watching from. We always love to hear it right now. Tell all your Bills friends if they want to listen in on the Bills against the Lions preview.
But I was thinking about that. No practice on a Thursday.
Yes.
Against a Lions team that is difficult to, so they did like a virtual meetings, right?
Yeah, they said they did virtual meetings. And I think it's important to note that they had a walkthrough on Wednesday. So as the season progresses, they get a lot more, they lighten up the practices and what they do, of course. But Wednesdays are usually, in the last couple of weeks, they've been a walkthrough, so that hasn't been anything different. Usually Fridays are a lighter practice as well, getting ready for the weekend ahead, the game ahead. So the fact that you had a walkthrough essentially on Wednesday, you had virtual meetings on Thursday, and Friday, you most likely won't have a really challenging practice. Mike, I mean, that to me is concerning.
Well, getting out on the field, they need to be on the field, and they may not have an opportunity to do this. Something about going to Detroit, because the other time they had the terrible weather. We went to Detroit because Detroit was nice enough to open up their stadium and the Bills could use it.
Against the Browns.
They played the Lions the other week, so it was 2 trips to Detroit. But I don't think it's as impactful in terms of on the field as it is earlier in the year when you haven't had so many reps as a team. But you're going to talk about the injury list. You know, there are players, when they mark it down on even a walkthrough, it's what they would have done in a practice. And then on Thursday, there is no practice, but the idea would be, if we did practice today, what would happen? And who's out?
Rasul would not have practiced. Damar Hamlin did not practice. Taylor Rapp did not practice. That is huge. So Damar was a full participant. It would have been a full participant on Wednesday.
Yeah, I saw him at practice. I saw him in the locker room. I didn't think anything of it. Yeah. I don't even know how Rasul Douglas is. Looked bad at the game. Then he seemed to be moving around fine afterward. We saw him for moments on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And I wonder, they have to be very official with the league on what players do. Mm-hmm. So is there a downside of saying, well, you know,
let's put them out there?
They didn't practice. It really doesn't matter. Yeah. Like if they say these players would not have participated on Thursday when there was no practice, get them out on a limited basis Friday maybe, and then get ready to play on Sunday.
No, I do think it's important to note that essentially with this list, like Keon Coleman would have been a full participant, as well as Dalton Kincaid. So that's promising or encouraging, however you want to look at it. But the fact that Damar wasn't originally on there and then was added. And we've heard a lot of people say or ask, like, do you think, and I know what you're going to say, but do you think we could see Micah Hyde?
Well, if for some reason
took the wrong camera.
Oh, that's right.
Took it twice.
If for some reason both of those guys weren't playing, like, I guess you could, and Micah would do whatever the team needs. I don't think it's ideal for a guy who hasn't played all year. And you talk about the difference in practices at this time of the year to get ramped up to play. It's a little different process. Go out there against the Lions.
Yeah.
You haven't stepped foot on a field yet. Would he do it? Yeah, if they needed him, I think he would. I don't think that would be the plan. I think the plan is Rapp's a tough dude and DeMar's tough. Like they stay out on the field as best they can. So I think there's probably a thought that they would play, but like you did just bring Micah Hyde in.
Yeah. I mean, when I look at Hyde, I'm not like, okay, he's ready to get it back out there. But a lot of times in the NFL, as we all know, it's like sometimes the opportunity presents itself before maybe you think you are ready for it, but that doesn't mean you're not going to get the chance to go out there and get it. I also think it's important to note Ralph Wilson Sr.
Yes.
saying Lions get 10 days of prep too, because obviously the Lions are coming off Thursday Night Football against the Packers, which that was a tough game, but that added element of having a little bit of extra rest on the back end too.
Yeah, they're preparing for the Buffalo.
I keep taking the wrong shot.
They're preparing for the Buffalo Bills 10 days ago.
Yes.
While the Bills were flying to LA, playing a game, coming back and going the way they had to go. We did get a chance to talk to Micah a little informally on the field.
Yeah, that was cool.
On Sunday. He seems like a happy man to be back with the Bills.
Yeah, he definitely does.
There's no question. But he'll get himself ready. I just don't think you want to make it quick emergency situation and throw him out there. It's hard to tell what he's been doing because really we go to practice like the walkthrough day. Jenna and I were there Wednesday. We're not allowed to watch the walkthrough. Even during the regular practices during the season, it's pretty limited. At least you see them out on the field. We don't even get that. So it's a strange few days at this time of the year. But I would think that the hope is that Rapp and DeMar are ready to go.
Yeah. And then some people are adding like Kareem Jackson. Can he getting elevated? I mean,
if need be, he's been here all year. He's a veteran.
That is a point.
Yeah.
But you hope that whatever the DeMar situation is or Rapp will be able to be out there because also cohesion, we talk so much about how important that is and what that can do and that chemistry and going up against a team that is as talented as the Lions. You're going to need all those things.
Yeah. You know, one thing I wanted to mention, you talk about Rasul and we'll see if he's able to go. I was really fascinated listening to Sean McDermott on Wednesday about Kyer Elum.
I thought the same thing.
So Matt Perino, I think, asked about Kyer Elum
being a healthy scratch.
Yes. You know, it's the hockey term, but he's healthy, not on the active roster. Some games he's been on the roster, but no question, Jamarcus Ingram is the third corner. And when we watched in camp, like Kyer looked like he's that guy, playing better, happy with the new coaching and all the things going with him. Sean was asked about it, and he basically said, it's about earning a spot. And then Matt followed up and said, are you saying it's him not earning it? And he's like, well, some of that could be true, but it's also basically Jamarcus or other players earning that spot. And I found that to be really interesting because Ingram has certainly been their choice. And you wonder, you know, you're going to need a third corner. Like, so if Rasul's not going, Ingram is starting and he was in at the end of the game and Kyer's got to be ready because I think he would be the guy.
I was taken aback because a lot of times what McDermott will do, and we've talked about it, is Josh, like many of our quarterbacks, had a nice game. They prepared right. But him kind of saying like, essentially, Kyer, that opportunity to be on the active roster is earned. Maybe some guys earned it over Kyer, but at the end of the day, that would mean that Kyer did not do enough. Now, also the numbers come into it. If there's other players that you think, you know, might have issues, injury issues crop up or whatever. But at the same point, I was very surprised to hear such strong words, but that to me was a message to Kyer of saying, you could have an opportunity coming down the line and you better be ready for it. And I think when we were in the Bills field house, you know, I was kind of just watching what Kyer was doing. He was talking a lot with Christian Benford. And so that always sticks out in my mind of, okay, what are they talking about? What are they going over? What would that look like? And will this be the week that Kyer might be back in the lineup because of Rasul? We don't know yet, but I feel like I try to see what guys are doing, when and where and who they're talking to, because it can sometimes be impactful for what they do later.
So what Sean McDermott was basically saying was the NFL is a meritocracy. I love that word.
I would love for Dan to try to spell that word.
We'd have another T-shirt. Him trying to spell it and pronounce it.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if I could spell it. I know merit, obviously.
I believe it's MERIT.
Okay, wait.
Ocracy. OCRACY.
You went too fast.
Meritocracy.
Okay, cool. Showing off over there.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It's that St. Augustine prep education.
Yeah. The homebodies? The hermits.
Homebodies.
Okay, that's kind of like a hermit.
Yeah. No, hermits just live in the woods away from people. My school was
That's like
in
a
the middle of
homebody.
the woods. No, a homebody has a home. I think a hermit lives in the woods. I guess that'd be his home. We are the hermits, proud and true, or something like that. I don't know. Whatever.
You know what my high school mascot was? The blue streaks. It's the worst.
So don't people say you cuss up a blue streak? Isn't that like a phrase?
Well, that would fit. But
Yes,
yeah.
it fits with Jenna. By the way, Austin Johnson and I, hermits. He's a St. Augustine prep hermit.
Yes.
Jersey.
That is very true.
That's it.
Okay, before we talk more about this Lions team,
Yeah.
where do you think this Bills team is at right now? Coming off a tough loss to the Rams on the road, defense got embarrassed, bad decision making. Josh, phenomenal game. Like when you look at this season and what they're going into Sunday, what stands out in your mind?
I think they're confident in a lot of things. I think as a defense and as a coaching staff, it starts up front and they're not confident there because they've been saying it all year. They need more out of the defensive line. Sean even said that about Ed Oliver. You know, I mean, Ed is supposed to be the impactful player on the inside of that D line. He has not been doing as much. And that really plays itself out on a team like against a team like the Detroit Lions. So it's nice to say bounce back, guys who've been there, done that. And I'm looking at the secondary and I'm seeing guys injured. I'm looking at Matt Milano, who is not back to being Matt Milano yet. I'm looking at a D line that is not making impactful plays. And you can usually, in the past, hang your hat on tough day, some scheme issues, change it up, Bills will be back. Mm-hmm. I'm concerned with that part of it because the things they held on to aren't as consistent as they've been in the past.
I think that's really fair. I feel concerned because this is not just like this is a really good team. You could argue that this is one of the best teams in the NFL and you're playing on the road. Like it's like you had a really tough game against LA. You came up short, your defense got torched. And then it's also, oh yeah, you're going to go up against a team that runs the ball very well, which has been your Achilles heel. You're also coming off a game where your pass defense did not play well. And oh yeah, one of your corners could be out. Yeah. And what about your safeties? Like that is the concern for me is that this Lions game could get away from the Bills in kind of a way similar to the Ravens game. Of if they can just crush them on the ground, the Bills struggled to respond in that.
This offensive line is just outstanding.
They really are cool. Good.
Is a beast. He is just a beast.
Yeah.
And the Lions have put up at home 52 points twice this year. And then they played a CFL team and they put 47 on the board. It's the Dallas Cowboys. How about them Cowboys?
You were waiting for that.
Yeah, they put 47 up on them. So, but they can score. You know, some other teams have given, I mean, just Thanksgiving, Chicago Bears were down big, came back on them, had a chance at the end of the game. They did lose early in the year to Tampa. I mean, they have won 11 in a row.
11 in a row.
And most of them have been pretty comfortable wins. Yeah. So it hasn't been the case, but
I mean, the last couple have been close though.
Yes.
This has been,
I mean, Green Bay moved the ball on them.
Actually, I say that the last two have been close.
Green Bay moved the ball on them. No question.
Absolutely. I mean, that game came down to
right at the end. And that's when we can talk about that part of it too. So I tried to ask the players about the Dan Campbell, we're going to go for it on fourth down. And it's funny, you know, sometimes players are aware, but they're not as aware maybe as we are because they're so focused on themselves. But the Bills are pretty aggressive, no matter what people think. They're pretty aggressive. I mean, the Eagles are very aggressive. There's a lot of teams that are very aggressive. There ain't nobody like the Lions. Like, he will go for it anytime, any place, anywhere, and he doesn't care. So what does that mean for your defense? Try to stop them on 4 downs. That's the way they look at it. It's very difficult to stop a quality offense on 4. It's tough to stop anybody 4 downs.
The expectation is it will be everything is 4 down territory.
Yeah, they will go for it deep in their own territory. He did in the Green Bay game.
Packers, yeah.
They lost the ball there. So that's the way I also look at it too. I think one of the players, was it Juan Smoot? One of them said it's an opportunity, because it is. If it's a 4th down and 3, okay, they're giving you a chance to take the ball away right here.
Yes, yeah.
So go make a play. And so, but it's very real with that team. That team is confident in it. You don't see a lot of, oh, coach, what are we doing? They're going. Like they know they're going.
What do you think it would take for Dan Campbell to not be like a darling? I mean, I know last year the playoff loss had to literally move his house and his family, but I feel like nationally speaking, Dan Campbell is still looked at as, oh my God, Dan Campbell. And like the success is deserved. I mean, they've had a really phenomenal season, but sometimes I think there's a fine line between like being aggressive and being insane.
Well, the word a lot of people will use is reckless. They think he is reckless.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, I love the way he coaches, especially with this team. They can run it. Great offensive line, smart quarterback, very, very accomplished offensive coordinator. Like there's a lot going for them. And they put the ball in their best player's hand. Players.
Yeah,
as a group.
They have multiple.
It's different than the Bills. Because with the Bills, Josh Allen is the alpha. He's their maybe best runner, as good as James Cook has been. Mm-hmm. He is just a physical marvel. That's not Goff. Goff's a very good passer and a smart player. But in terms of being able, sometimes the whole play could break down and Josh can just do it.
And he just take over.
The Kansas City game is a good example. They had a very good defense called against it, and he takes it to the house. That's what he does. But sometimes it's like the game is fun, honestly, to me. If you're just watching a game, say tonight you were watching the Niners and the Rams, right? It's like it's 4th down, they're going for it. Let's go. It's enjoyable to watch. If you don't get it, play defense. Go the other way. It's like, I think that's the way the game has changed, but absolutely Campbell is at the top of that. But you're right. Last year he made those calls in the game against the Niners, and they should have worked. Guys drop passes. They had a fumble. And listen, I think Detroit has great fans. They have put up with so much crap with this franchise through the years. Mm-hmm. But some knuckleheads are like coming out to his house and doing stuff. Insane. You know, there's too much of that stuff that goes on. That's not all on Lions fans. That's on some lunatics.
Yeah.
But he does take a lot of heat. And you see around the league, especially some old heads, these guys that have been around the league.
Old heads.
Yeah.
Well done.
Well, you know, they sit there and they go, oh, he takes too many chances. You got to punt the ball. Like, please. I will say there's a difference between punting and field goal or touchdown.
Yeah.
Because there are times like you can take the 3 and it's a smart play. But there's other times it's like they cannot wait to see a kicker on the field. Dan Campbell, I think, likes his kickers. He just doesn't like to see them.
Yeah.
Like stay in the background. So
Jason Rizzo with a good comment. I feel like we got a little too loose after the Niners game. Long road trip and not taking the Rams seriously was obvious. It took until the 3rd before things really kicked into full gear. McDermott and the Bills this week talked a lot about urgency. And I think that it's very fitting because being out on the field, I think I texted you, flat.
Yeah, you said that right away.
Very flat at moments. And like flat isn't always actually a bad thing. Sometimes if you get too hyped for a lot of players, like you can make mistakes. You can play over your skis. You can be a little bit more than what you need to be. And I don't mean that actually in a positive way. Like you overcommit, you overdo it, and it can be a negative. So sometimes flat is just like, hey, I'm at peace. I know what I got to do. I know my assignment. And sometimes flat is just no energy.
Not energy.
And that can be a very dangerous spot for a team because obviously the NFL is, and Sean McDermott said this week, you know, it's another reminder how you have to bring it every single week. And that is why actually in this game, I just feel like the Bills got punched in the mouth a little bit.
Yeah.
They only lost by 2 points, but that was an embarrassing effort from the defense. And I think this Bills defense is like, we cannot wait to get back on the field because of how we played and how poorly it went against LA. So that's just my thought process.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot that goes into it schematically, what you need to do. You can have good intentions and it cannot come together because of the talent on the other side of the field. But for this Bills team, I really like kind of the mindset of where they're at, of like, they're pissed off. And I don't blame them.
We have been in so many Sean McDermott news conferences through the years. And
Yeah.
one thing you have to understand about the NFL is you'll see interviews, but sometimes there's a little context to when you're seeing the interview. Immediate post game is probably the toughest for a coach because everybody gets frustrated and say they haven't seen the film. But the reality is they haven't. You're on the sidelines. They don't see everything.
Time out real quick. Sometimes like when you are watching a broadcast, shout out the TV stations because they do a phenomenal job of getting all these different angles and what you see. And it's incredible. Sometimes when you're on the sidelines, it is so hard to see what is happening, especially on the other side of the field, especially if it's a bang bang play. And especially because a lot of times if it's advantageous to the opposing team or the Bills, if they're on the road, they won't show the replays in the stadium. So you're like, I don't know. I'll have to go on Twitter and look. And there's obviously a delay. So sometimes when you hear that cop out, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe they say that. Sometimes it's a crutch.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is actually true.
Because sometimes they'll say it when there's been good plays too. I haven't seen it, but it was a great result. So the reason I bring that up is, so that's, after a game. And in many cases, they haven't talked to the players either. So, and then we always have like a Zoom call with Sean on Monday. He's sitting back in his office. He's very patient on those Monday Zooms.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ever watch him, he needs to have patience. Wednesday is normally we get Sean buttoned up, ready to go. We'll give you a little bit, but he's just the facts, ma'am, staying with what he wants, that type of thing, right? He was fired up Wednesday.
I was pretty surprised because normally by Wednesday, he's kind of more, I don't want to say toned down, but like we got a job ahead. And it wasn't that he was overtly emotional, but he was passionate in a way that he's not normally speaking those terms on a Wednesday.
He was asked really about process and moving on, those type of things, as opposed to basically the team being fired up and not playing with the emotion. And he pushed back in this way of like, oh yeah, I'm a process guy, but you better lay it on the line. You better be ready. And he was like, we were in a locker room speech there. Like he was like, let's go. I want to see this.
You better bring your guts. You better bring your heart. I was like, dang.
That was on Wednesday. So he knew his team got pushed around in that game, scored a bunch of points and lost. Doesn't like it. So I think it'll be something to see. People respond to me. It's coach talking. Let me tell you something. Anybody who doesn't think Sean McDermott has his players respect, just stop. You may not like his decisions and things he does. And there are things he does, I'm sure, at times piss off his own players. But if you talk about respect and them listening to him, they absolutely listen to Sean McDermott. Top to bottom, starting with number 17. So this idea that he's losing this and losing that at 10-3 in the season, again, we had a big problem with his decision, the timeout decision and the run play, bad execution at the end of the game. Whether that was him, Joe Brady, Josh in any form, whatever it was, bad decision. That's on the head coach. He's made too many of those. But in terms of them wanting to follow him and listen to him, they listen to him.
Yeah, 1,000%. And it was kind of nice to see that fire because I think a lot of people were like, oh, just another McDermott mistake. He has, and what do we love to say on this channel? Two things can be true of like, yes, it was.
It's a very good
first of all, it's not my statement. I didn't come up with it.
On this channel, it is.
Yeah. Can you tell I've been to a lot of therapy? But truly, it's like that two things can be true. You can say, hey, this was another breakdown in a big moment where the Bills were in a position to win this game and some decision-making held them back. And also McDermott says, we needed the reminder that the NFL, you got to have it every single week. You got to prepare in a certain way and you got to bring the fire because other teams will do that regardless. And the Rams were a hungry team. They're trying to make the playoffs. They're trying to put it together. They had more urgency, and you just did not see as much from Buffalo.
No question. And it doesn't take much in this league. The talent level is so high.
Yeah.
And if you're not ready, you will get beat. I mean, the Carolina Panthers were the joke of the league beginning of the year, all the stuff that went on. And you watch them now, like they should have beaten Kansas City. They should have beaten the Eagles.
They're playing pretty well.
So the reason I bring that up is sometimes people look at records or they look at teams. The LA Rams, when they have all their guys, are really, really good.
Yeah.
And you're right. And I do think it's not like they disrespected the other team. It takes about that much of maybe not working as hard that week, not studying as much. Terrell Bernard said it to us. Maybe not. We got to maybe more meetings, going over everything, making sure everything is buttoned up. Maybe you lose just 10% of that.
I think that's such human nature, though. I think I don't think it's even conscious. I just think it's how we work as humans.
You are right. 1,000% you are right. But you know it.
Wow.
I know it. Jenna knows it. You can be a little bit off in my job, in your job, in your job. But if you're in the NFL and you're that little bit off and you haven't studied as much, Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua will take your lunch money. Like these guys are exceptional. This is the league. So it doesn't take much. It's rare when it's like, it looks like a mismatch all the time, right? I mean, the Chiefs have won every game by 1 point, it feels like this year.
Should we say what we were talking about?
Go ahead.
Are the Chiefs the luckiest team? Like when the Patriots had their dynasty, they played very well. I feel like they lived in that gray area. Bill Belichick used a little bit of gamesmanship, trying to push the rules. Whereas this Chiefs team, I just feel like they not even find. They're just lucky sometimes. We're like, when does that luck wear out?
So Jenna asked me this question, and I went on for about 45 minutes. It's probably what it felt like to her. Got to the point where I said the Patriots weren't as lucky. Belichick had a lot to do with it. Criticize him all you want for what you don't like. The guy was great in the margins. He knew whether he was pushing the rules or not. He knew how to make things happen. This Chiefs team is outstanding. Maybe they're not as good as they were, but the reason the luck works for them, and it will run out at some point, is that they're always there. The Bills blew them out, beat them by 9 points. Like it wasn't a one-score game. They're always there, but things have worked out very well for them.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about, Mahomes threw a touchdown to Kelsey and they won the game. We're talking about there was 2 field goals this week that doinked off the upright. The one for the Arizona Cardinals was the loudest noise you'll ever hear, and it went about 70 yards left. And the one for the Chiefs just glanced off and just floated through into where it was good, and they won the game.
I think if you were to ask the Chiefs, have you been lucky this year? They'd be like, yeah, definitely.
I don't think they admit it.
Okay, fine. In the locker room, you don't think they go around like, holy, that was some lucky stuff.
They might admit it amongst each other, like looking at each other.
That's like lucky.
They do put themselves in a spot, but
I agree. Like they're obviously in very close games, and they have great, fourth quarter drives to get them into the lead and all those things. But I also think sometimes it's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. And if people talk about the odds of all these close games, they've won them. Basically, the 1-score games, they keep winning them because the Bills was a 2-score game.
Yeah.
I use this analogy. Part of me, I talk a lot. I may have said it on this channel before, but I made the analogy of a pro golfer getting a hole-in-one. Like I could get a hole-in-one. You could get a hole-in-one. It would be a lot of luck. Like, okay.
Definitely a lot of luck on my end.
A pro golfer has a much better chance of a hole-in-one because they are always close. They're on the green the majority of the time. Close to the pin. But it's still luck when it rolls in the hole, right? Because it could be close. It could be whatever. The Chiefs are always there to take advantage of their luck. Like some of those things can happen in a game and you're down by 12 and it really doesn't matter. Unfortunately, the Chiefs are either in the lead at the end of the game or within a score and they take advantage of it.
Yeah.
But I'm promising you, Bills fans, it's going to run out.
Josh Clark said, it's not luck when it's planned with black magic. Sometimes it feels like that, right?
Yeah.
And then another person saying, blocking a field goal. Todd H saying, blocking a field goal isn't luck. That is preparation.
He's right.
That's, yeah, I think that's very fair.
Here's where the luck part of it came in.
The doink.
Andy Reid kicked a field goal at the 2-yard line. I keep making this up. They were playing Denver at the Denver 2 with 3 minutes and change to go. And Andy goes for a field goal. It's the wrong move. I know it gave you the lead, but it gave the Broncos the ball. Oh, kickoff, get the ball. Broncos move down the field. That was the wrong play, and it ended up being the blocked field goal. Now, it was good execution. They found the place to attack, and they got there. But they were fortunate that they made that play. That is not the way you would normally plan out to win a game. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is I think they made the wrong call offensively, and they survived it because they made a big play. I will give you this. That was planning, seeing a weakness, attacking it in the right time. But winning games by blocking a field goal in the last play is really a tough way to live. Yeah. But they did it because they're the Chiefs. And that's why I say they are fortunate because they stayed that way and they were close enough. But I think they were pretty lucky. First of all, I guess the Broncos were driving. They could have gone right on down and scored a touchdown. Then it wouldn't have mattered. So
the Broncos are frisky.
How about Baltimore being a toe over the line?
Oh, my gosh. Ridiculous.
To tie the game. How about Kansas City not thinking or Tampa against Kansas City? Go for 2.
Yeah.
They didn't take that chance. So they have gotten fortunate breaks. But come on. We're talking about 2-time Super Bowl champs who've lost 1 game, and it was to the Bills. So they are very good.
Yeah. And they also have some luck.
They do. They have been fortunate.
Let's go back to this Bills game.
Yep.
Because we talked.
Well, look at what it means. You're still alive for the wild card or for the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
Because the Chiefs have some tough ones. But look at what this game means to the Lions.
It is. You think about the Bills and where they're at, already locked up the AFC East. Obviously, they're trying to get to that 1 seed. And for this Lions team, the NFC North is just a gauntlet between the Packers and then the Vikings. I mean, right now, the Lions are only a game ahead of Minnesota.
Yeah.
It is. And they're 12-1.
They play each other again, right?
I believe so,
obviously, the Lions won the first matchup. But
they play each other last game of this regular season.
Imagine that. Potentially, and I don't know how the tiebreaker works beyond those 2 teams. Like if say Minnesota were to win that game. So I may be wrong, but let's just pretend for a second. The Lions win out and lose to the Vikings. The Vikings win out, and the Vikings win the division at 15-2, and the Lions are the 5 seed at 15-2. I don't know if that can happen. I think for some reason they would still win the tiebreaker if it was 1-1. Why do I think they need to lose another game? But it's kind of wild that they're still fighting. If the Bills knock them off, the Vikings are going to be sitting there going, we still got a shot.
Yeah. Sam Darnold's going to be like, shout out my dude, Josh Allen.
Go get him.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk a little bit more just about this Lions team. And like we talked about a little like the run game, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, combined for 22 touchdowns this season. Bills have obviously struggled in that run defense. But there's so many playmakers on this team. And in terms of passing the ball, Jared Goff is having another great season. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, if you are not a Bills fan, just watching him play, he is so fun to see out there. He's
physical. His dad is the power lifter, right?
Yeah. Because on Hard Knocks, that was really cool.
Yeah. This dude. And, we talked to Dan Miller from Fox 2, and he's the play-by-play guy in the Lions. You can watch that. It's on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. And he talked about this kid being like not only a worker, but he will look to get offended. So he's looking for something. Yes. He's like, get me a chip.
And I took that personally.
Yes. So whether he's looking there, it's probably, who knows what it would be. He's going to find something that, well, Rasul might, if we were interviewing Rasul, maybe he would have said something. I don't think Christian Bedford speaks so softly, he wouldn't have heard what he said anyhow. But he'll find something about this, something that disrespects him, and go try to get after the Bills. This is the way the guy operates. He is a physical player. He's a number one, 4th-round draft pick that became a number one. And he's every bit that. And they have Jamison Williams, who is really fast. I talked to him at the draft in Vegas, and Dan and I were out there for the draft, and he is a thin guy. Like, he is not built like what you would say. He's not built like Amon-Ra St. Brown, and he's just a different body type. He's had a lot of issues. He had a gun thing going on. He had injuries. It's just been a lot, but he can move and he can get behind the defense. And then you got Patrick, who had a couple of touchdowns. He's dealt with all these injuries. The one that gets me a little bit is Laporta, the tight end.
Yeah. I feel like you expect going into the season he would have a great year, and I feel like he's someone that hasn't really looked the way you would expect heading in.
Yeah, his numbers are really mediocre to this point. He's dealt with a little bit of injury, but I'm surprised a little bit. But this, Jenna, starts with them running the football.
That O-line too. Did we talk about the O-lines?
Penei Sewell caught a pass last week, right? Didn't they do that?
I think so.
I think they did. I don't think it went anywhere.
Oh, you wanted Alec Anderson to catch a pass.
So I'm going to be Dan, and I'm going to say at some point I'm going to get Alec Anderson to catch a penny pass in a game.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be like Dan, and I'm going to say, if at any point in the rest of his career, Alec Anderson catches a pass, I'm going to take credit for it.
Career?
Well, I'm going to take credit for it because that's what Dan would do. So,
okay, that's bold.
Yeah.
All right. Do we want to do our predictions, or do you want to talk a little more?
I just want to talk about the Bills' advantage in this game is their offense against. Look, their defensive numbers are pretty good, but they were so beaten up on the D-line when they played, and I think they're getting some of their guys back. When they played the Packers, the ones and the twos from the beginning of the season D-line, none of them were on the field. That's how beaten up with there. And the Anzalone, the linebackers still hurt. Obviously, no Aiden Hutchinson, who is a game wrecker. So they've been missing those guys. Their linebackers are, I believe, as the kids would say, mid. How's that?
You used old heads. You used mid.
I know. I got them all.
Mediocre.
Mediocre. Their secondary, Joseph, they are aggressive.
Would you say 11?
I think it's 11 interceptions total between the two safeties.
Is that good?
They can be tested deep. You can throw the ball deep on this team. So let's see if the Bills take some shots in that way. This is not a great defense right now. Josh Allen can have a day against this defense. The problem is, can you keep up with their offense? Can the Bills be able to slow them down?
Well, that's one of the ways to keep them slowed down is to have them not on the field. So,
yeah.
And I think too, sometimes I go back to just the fact that the Bills played. I mean, obviously Josh Allen had a phenomenal game against the Rams, but like the Bills lost that game by 2 points.
I know.
The Rams played essentially a perfect game. And I know it's not the same team, but the weapons that the Rams have are really good. And this Detroit team is feeling good. I just feel like sometimes in this league, the losses get your attention in a way that we talked about. It's just not the same on the other side. So the Lions have won 11 in a row. They're still playing for, the division and all these things, but I do have the Bills winning this game.
Yeah.
Let's go into our picks then.
Yeah, well, go ahead. You're first.
So I have the Bills winning this game 34-30. I just think it's a tough place to play. I think the Lions are going to absolutely bring it. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. I just think that the way the Bills played last week left a terrible taste in their mouth. And I think for this team, it's the Jordan mindset of, I played bad. I took that personally. You guys are all hating on us. We can show up. And I do expect to see a bounce back effort from the Bills defense. And maybe that's oversimplifying it, but I just think that sometimes it just takes the intention that make you play better. That being really upset, being pissed off about it. And I think Josh Allen is having a phenomenal season. I think that this getting the balls, running the ball more, and just having that ground game get going, what that can do for the entire offense, and playing a physical style that we've seen them lean on in the past, having that be a part of this piece going forward in this game. I have the Bills winning.
So I agree with you. I think the defense is going to come with a better effort, better mindset coming into it. There's no
hard to be worse
question they will be aware of what they're playing because this team is really good. My concern for this game is, unlike the Rams, who were precise and while I do think Jared Goff throws the ball very well, Matthew Stafford is a wizard throwing the ball, and Nakua, those guys were incredible in the game. What concerns me in this game is the Bills have been successful when they've been physical. This is a more physical team than the Bills on offense. They are really physical on offense. They love running the football. And we know that is the weakness of the Bills. It just absolutely is.
Yeah.
So that concerns me that this team is just going to be hitting them with the run game, and again, stopping them in many cases on 4 downs when he will just go for it. And you can't get the defense off the field. Josh is Josh. He's going to make plays. They didn't turn it over offensively. Lost in those stats and everything is the fact that they had a block punt for a touchdown, which was brutal to hurt them. I just don't know if the physical nature of the Lions and the way they can play and then still beat you with the passing game is a good matchup in the Dome for a team that is still fighting, that hasn't clinched anything yet.
Mm-hmm.
So other than they'll be in the playoffs, but yeah. And I have this first time this year, I'm picking the Bills to lose. And I regretted it in the Baltimore game because Dan was right about Baltimore. They're really tough on those night games at home.
Yeah.
And I didn't take enough of that into consideration. Detroit's a tough place to play. I love the stadium. It is loud. And these fans, Bills fans show up. It's tough to get a ticket in this place.
Yeah.
Because they ain't giving them up. They've had too many crappy years in Detroit. So that makes it tough. I've got it 34-28 Lions to win this.
Yeah. A nice comment from LFG. Concerned the Bills will be tired. The Lions had 10 days off, which we talked about earlier, but that certainly does help. So Dan also going with the Lions in this game. He has the score being 34-31. That's not, is that what
you're right.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm thinking, I'm like, yeah. So yes. So right now, Jenna and Dan combined are, let's see, I am 10 no, what am I now?
10-3.
10-3. You are 11-2, both of you guys.
Correct.
So at the end of this game, either Dan is
in first place,
and you and I are tied for second or last, depending on how you look at it,
or
you're in first place.
Yeah.
And Dan and I are.
Yeah. Scared money don't make money. So I'm going. I get why you picked the Lions.
Yeah.
But I'm picking the Bills. And that could be silly.
And believe me, I hope you're right, because I think for all the things that are out there for the Bills, this is big. It's the Patriots twice and the Jets at home.
Yeah.
The guy with the Netflix comedy special is coming in a few weeks. So funny. It's going to be hilarious. I think it's next week.
I'm actually surprised he's still playing. I'm surprised he hasn't said he's injured.
He's so tough. He's such a team guy. A-Rod. Time for credit to me?
You start. I don't really know.
Okay, so I'm going to say credit to me.
Okay.
There are times, especially like in this job, in travel and running around, that things go the way you don't want them. And credit to me, I always stay calm, collected, and never really lose it. Even if things go the wrong way, I'm always like, take a breath. Don't worry. No issues. Even driving or at the stadium, it is always I just stay. I'm Khalil Shakir. I'm just nice and cool, calm, collected, no issue. Would you agree?
Mike lost his mind in LA to the point where I was like, are you okay? Like, I wasn't making fun of you. I was genuinely concerned about you. We travel a lot together.
Yeah.
So I've seen Mike a lot So I'm,
It's not, but
we
normally,
all have our moments. It wasn't like that.
yeah, it's like a brief. So very quickly, what happened was we're downstairs. The stadium, everything is awesome, but it is massive. So game's over. We're doing all of our stuff, and I'm leaving. I said, I'll go get the car. Jenna with Matt Bove from Channel 7 in
Yeah.
Buffalo, going to bring all the stuff up. He's getting a ride with us back to the hotel. And I get out to the car, and I'm like, looking at my bag. I'm like, where's my laptop? And I always have this laptop with me. And I called Janet. She's like, they're coming out, and they're coming out. And I go, do you have my laptop? Now, it was all the way out of the stadium. It's all security and everything there.
Yeah. Do you have my laptop? Why would I have
I thought maybe I left it in the cart that we use, whatever. She's like, no. So I very calmly went through my bag. I
just throwing stuff, swearing.
Because I was like, I knew I had to go back in there.
Wish I knew where the bleeps were on this.
So I go back in the stadium, and very nice, polite, professional security guy that I was trying to like, hey, I need to get my laptop. And he was like, well, let me see your ID. So eventually I get him the ID, which is the pass. He's like, I scan it. He goes, yeah, that doesn't work after this part. So he scans the thing, or he takes the thing. He says, I got to take a picture and send this to my boss. I said, can't you just walk me down there? It's like, I can't leave my post. The guy was doing everything right. Now, I didn't get really mad. I was more semi-begging. I was like, hey, can you just take me down there? Eventually, he stayed nice and calm. He walked me down there, which was a hall, because how that place is.
Yeah, it's a big stadium.
And it's down the elevator 6 floors and then all the way or halfway around the stadium. So we were on the field shooting the podcast, and I was packing some stuff up. Jenna was going in to do something quick, and she says, don't forget your laptop.
I know that I said, make sure you don't forget your laptop.
And I probably said, yeah.
That essentially was exactly what, yeah, I wouldn't forget it.
So
I was like, okay, fine, I'll go F myself.
I get down on the field at that point, and I'm like, as we're walking down with the guy, and he was like, I said, oh, it's on the field. And so I go sprinting out towards the field, and who did I say was down there?
Perino.
Oh, Matt Perino. And he's doing his
of Syracuse.com.
Yeah, he's doing his own video, live video. And I see my computer just sitting there right where I left it. And I go and I'm like grabbing it, and I'm talking to the person working there. And she's looking at me like, I don't care what you have. And it was so funny because I got my stuff and then I left. And Matt must have said to Matt Bove, like, was Catalana okay? I was a little rattled.
That was the most rattled I've ever seen you.
I hate having to, you go back in and it's just, it was a pain. So
my credit to me is dealing with that.
Yeah.
Because
I was a lot.
On the way to the stadium, you might have bumped into a curb.
So Jenna is terrible at reading the directions to me.
Oh my, I have Google Maps that has the directions pulled up, and I'm like, where do I go? I'm like, look at the map.
I don't want to look at the map. I want her to say to me, turn left at this light.
That's literally what I say. And you're like, well, the street name isn't the same.
So it wasn't.
It wasn't, but I was like, it says to go left. So just go left.
So
and he's like, no, I'm not going to. And then he's like, well, it told me to go left.
So then I went very slightly back, and then I tried to make a turn.
Yes. Instead of just going down a little bit further, finding a spot, doing a U-turn, or if you can't do a U-turn, you make a left and then you can take a right. He just cuts in front of traffic.
They waited for me. And then
we were legitimately perpendicular to the lane.
Yeah, but it was stopped. Nobody was going to do anything.
We were perpendicular.
Did I get my spot? Did we go in?
Then you bumped into the curb. You're like, where do I go from here?
Hey, Enterprise Rental, that car already had a small little scratch on it.
So what Josh Martin said, unlike Mike, this podcast took a turn.
So we pull in, and then the parking was supposed to be like in San Francisco. And I dropped Jenna off to make sure it was a nice shorter walk.
Which was nice. That was appreciated.
And then I pulled in, and the guy was like, oh, he's like, go pull in here. And then the lot was way down. He goes, go over that way and then go right. I'm like, okay. And then I just went left, pulled into a great spot, had a great spot. to
Great.
then forget my laptop and it wouldn't even matter at the
Yeah.
end. So
And then in the locker room, you had the camera on slow-mo.
it was a bad day. I recorded the interviews, got great interviews. You didn't see any of them because it was on the wrong setting. And I'm like, why are these files like
You know what you
8
do?
gigs?
You know what you do? Jenna, I'm like, I can't do it. What am I supposed to do?
And then Matt Bove says, hey, Mike, can I get? And I go, nope.
So,
Oh, yeah.
yes.
I had a bad of a day as Sean McDermott did on Sunday. I had a bad day.
Yeah.
I was
know what?
great up until the end of the game.
You get to bounce back. Well,
Yes,
same
I
with
need to bounce
Sean's.
back. I'm going to be more focused this week in Detroit, my
Yeah.
favorite stadium.
Are you hungry?
Yes. Hungry for a win. And
Are you humble?
I definitely was humbled. So, oh, I meant to say at the beginning, I am normally pretty good in these circumstances. I went off the rails in this one.
you were a wild man. That is
Yeah.
for sure. But good thing we have
But
more
then we
travel
got
ahead.
back to the hotel. Jenna got to get herself ready.
Yes.
Had a nice meal.
Yeah.
And we went to the crazy LA airport at 9:30 at night.
Yeah, that place sucks.
Lunacy at LAX.
Oh, totally off topic, but I just want to remind everyone I'm doing a lot of like holiday shopping, and the Buffalo Plus store. We've actually gotten a lot of orders.
Yeah.
I don't think I've told you that, but mugs are really popular right now. The hats as well. Just go to buffaloplusstore.com. We have a ton of merch on there. You can get your favorite Buffalo Plus gear. Also, the Dan is wrong, Dan is right mug is pretty popular. So that's always a hit if you have a friend or a family member that loves the Buffalo Plus channel. What?
Dan has been right for these 2 weeks because he's been doing the right thing. He's been home with the babies.
Yeah, absolutely.
He is itching to get back.
He can't wait. Honestly, I can't wait.
Loves his girls, loves being the dad, but like, come on. We're closing in on the playoffs. He is ready.
Yeah.
Wait till he gets back. He's going to have some hot takes.
Oh my gosh. He probably doesn't know what to do. He hasn't been able to get
He's
off his hot
talking to Taylor, the little one. He's like, yeah, they need to run the ball only on third down. Like he's telling her all this stuff.
Yeah, she's 8 days old.
Right.
Precisely. Also, we want to thank you all. We hit over 35,000 subscribers. So that was
nice.
really, really cool. Thank you so much. A reminder too, be sure to check out the Buffalo Plus podcast, available wherever you find your podcasts, whether that's Apple or Spotify, whatever.
Big numbers on the audio podcast over the last week. We didn't make the top 10 this time, so we got to pick it up just a little. But we had the last time was a few weeks ago. We made top 10 for Apple Sports Podcast.
Yeah, which was really cool. You know what I saw? The number for the total number of downloads for us was really good.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Why do people listen? Just kidding. We love you guys. All right. We'll be in Detroit. Mike and I, we're getting ready. Dan will be back sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
We'll, of course, have more post-game coverage on the Buffalo Plus channel. We'll also have the 5 players to watch on Saturday to look out for as we get ready for this matchup against the Lions in Detroit. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. You know how much we appreciate it. It really does mean a lot. Buffalo Bills fan number 17. Love your podcast. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh Allen. We really appreciate that.
And if you're in Detroit and you see us, stop by, say hello.
Say hi.
We met.
Oh, I met a lovely woman. Her name was Cindy. Very sweet. She says her and her husband watch the channel. So really appreciate that.
Nice to hear. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you to your husband. And
yeah. And thank you to you all.
And tell your friends.
Yeah, if you don't mind, that would be greatly appreciated.
Yep.
All right, for Mike Catalana and Dan Fates, who's still on Veterans Day off. Veteran Day.
Oh my God. You should have just gone to the end.
With a Veteran Day off. Thank you for watching the Buffalo Plus. I'm Jenna Cottrell. Oh my guys. Oh my God, we gotta go. I gotta go.
Bye-bye.
Okay, wait, I still can't get the
Oh, you can't.
Thank you for watching the Buffalo Plus channel presented by Connors and Ferris. Thank you. And pretend that this last part didn't happen. Thanks, guys. Love you.